So Tom Ingram then ready to do battle, and up to Beckett's for the second time. These two formation laps to get warmth in the tyres. Let's look at the grid then. Daryl de Leon is on pole for the first time, courtesy of qualifying, and Gordon Shedden with him at the front of the grid. Daryl de Leon leading the Jack Sears Trophy, don't forget as well. Second row, Jake Hill, the driver who is fifth in the championship, and Dan Lloyd is second in the independence contest, and he starts fourth, his best of the year, ahead of Josh Cook, his best qualifying of the year, and Senna Proctor lining up with him. Then you've got Dan Rowbottom, who's involved in the battle for third with Dan Camish as far as points are concerned. Aidan Moffat having his best qualifying of the year next, ahead of Charles Rainford and Aaron Taylor-Smith. 11th, Mikey Doble, the independence leader. Ash Sutton, second in the championship. He starts 12th, ahead of Adam Morgan. Tom Ingram, championship leader. He starts 14th. It's Chris Smiley, 15th, third in the independents, ahead of Max Buxton and then Nicholas Hamilton. Dexter Patterson is 18th. Tom Chilton failed the ride height check yesterday, lost his lap times. He's 19th, ahead of Sam Osborne. Then it's Dan Camish, who also failed the ride height check. He's 21st. Nick Halstead at the back. And if you're wondering how you decide out of Chilton and Camish who goes where, having failed the ride height, they're in the order that they were after free practice 2. You take that time and those positions as the guide. They weren't excluded from qualifying, they just failed the ride height check and lost their times, but they lost them at the end of their part of the qualifying session.
Yeah, in actual fact, Chilton's ride height failure wasn't on the front splitter, it was on the side. The exhaust had dropped. So that wasn't a setup problem, that was just a little bit of a loose bolt there. But they've got some work to do from the front. I'm intrigued to hear Ingram describe his wish for a sensible race. I don't think there is such a thing as a sensible race in BTCC, never mind when you're into the last 6 races of the year.
Yes, ever the optimist, hey? So there is Tom Ingram making his way up towards the line, and we are going to have 22 laps ahead of us. The grid then, as ever, the 1x1 staggered grid, pole position on the outside line at the home of British Motor Racing, and it's Daryl de Leon, a BRDC rising star, who slots into place at the front. He's going to be Nick Halstead last on the grid there, looking the Motor Parts Direct with PowerMax Racing Cupra. Dan Camish is going to be one to watch as well. There are some big names out of position, of course. Ingram and Sutton sort of mid-grid, Camish, Chilton towards the back, and we are ready to go racing then. The green flag will be shown at the rear of the grid to say that everybody is where they ought to be. The lights will in a moment go red. It is round 25 of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship from Silverstone. It is blast off with a good getaway by de Leon. Not a great start by Josh Cook. Good launch also made by Aidan Moffat. And on the run down towards Cops Corner, de Leon leads and Jake Hill tries to go the long way around the outside of Gordon Shedden. That did not quite work, I don't believe, and it's indeed going rather wide, Gordon Shedden. Ash Sutton, I think, was up against the wall as he made his way down towards Cops. He's got away with it, but it is going to be Daryl de Leon from Gordon Shedden, and up into third, Dan Lloyd as they arrive at Beckett. So Jake Hill shuffled back one spot in the pack.
Yeah, Ash Sutton, I was watching, he got the jump on Mikey Doble, but was a little bit of contact very close to the pit wall on the run down to turn 1.
And Sutton's still involved in a big fight, but look at Shedden, he's all over the back of de Leon. This is going to be fascinating. Daryl de Leon, one of the young guns of the championship, against one of the more experienced drivers on the grid, one of the most successful on the grid in Gordon Shedden, who's up the inside look coming out of the second part of lap field, side by side with the BMW. Daryl de Leon on the outside line, Gordon Shedden on the inside line. Gordon Shedden, he's going to get his nose in front at the end of lap 1, and after his best qualifying of the season, Gordon Shedden led across the line. He'll get a point at the championship for that, but de Leon is right with him on the outside line. It's Dan Lloyd third as they round Cops. De Leon way wide off the racetrack, but he maintains the momentum and he's still on the attack. Shedden leads. Lloyd's going to have the inside line for Beckett's last of the late breakers. They both lock up. Lloyd sideways. De Leon goes wide and Jake Hill nips up to third. De Leon, though, is in danger of losing more places here.
Well, the front-wheel drive cars know that the BMWs take a little bit longer to heat their tyres up when they're cold, and they're vulnerable on lap 1. Talk of vulnerable, here comes Lloydie down the inside of Shedden, and he's pulled it off. Fantastic first couple of laps from Dan Lloyd.
Brilliant stuff. Dan Lloyd in the independent Restart Racing Hyundai, not a factory, not a works car. He comes through the right hand of Luffield, and this is looking back from Dan Lloyd's car. So you've had briefly Daryl de Leon on the lead, you've had Gordon Shedden in the lead. Now you've got Dan Lloyd in the lead as they come diving down towards Copse Corner to start lap 3 of 22. Restart Racing has been successful in the independents this year, but could an outright race win head the team's way? This is on board with Sutton, and Ash Sutton already up into 9th place. Ingram's up into 11th, but Sutton needs to be ahead of Ingram to take points off him, of course.
Yeah, well, Sutton's focus is at the moment in this race is on going forward. This is on board with Ingram. There's a lock-up further in front of him. So Ingram is just pacing himself. Sutton's trying to go forward to get as many points as possible rather than backing Ingram into any further trouble, at least at this point in the race.
Now Gordon Shedden's coming under attack from Jake Hill, and that might just give Dan Lloyd a bit of breathing space. Dan has been a race winner, of course, in the championship before. He's got 3 outright race wins to his name. Shedden is second, Hill right with him. In 4th place now it's Senna Proctor and Daryl De Leon trying to rebuild his race after making that mistake. So Lloyd leads, end of the lap, replay of the start.
Great launch off the line by De Leon. Look further back on the inside. Sutton goes down the inside. Oh, actually it wasn't Mikey Doble, it was Chris Smiley. A really good move.
I think it was Taylor Smith, possibly. Let's have a look. Smiley was behind on the grid. But this is the view from Ingram. Yeah, it was Aaron Taylor Smith, yes, just up the road in the Toyota. Sutton squeezes by, Ingram squeezes by as well.
Yeah, good start, good view. Ingram probably quite pleased that Sutton is going forwards rather than backwards. A little bit of greater experience with Jake Hill and the BMWs, allowing him to get the tyres up to temperature quicker than Daryl De Leon.
As now Jake Hill tries again to get past Gordon Shedden, diving down towards Brooklands. There is Ash Sutton on the outside line, trying to gain ground, but Ingram is up the inside line, and Tom Ingram is ahead of him, and that is absolutely vital for him. So Ingram is making progress now as he comes through ahead of Sutton. You've also got the Charles Rainford BMW in the mix as well. You've got Mikey Doble. Now Doble's situation, of course, matters relative to Lloyd and Smiley because they are all fighting for independent championship honours. But Dan Lloyd now leads by 0.6 of a second as that's Jake Hill going through. He moves himself up past Gordon Shedden. So now Hill sets off in pursuit of Dan Lloyd. Don't forget Dan led at Snetterton and lost out late race to Dan Rowbottom. He's leading here. Could he be denied by Jake Hill?
Yeah, quite possibly. Well, that wasn't a scenario I saw happening of Ingram getting in front of Sutton. Not at all. So Sutton had a bad lap, didn't he, to have dropped back.
Yeah, this is a sensible day for Tom Ingram. Yeah, elbows out, force your way through. Right, down they come towards Brooklands. The gap between the leaders is coming down. Although at the moment, Dan Lloyd has done the fastest lap of the race. But you can see Hill is getting closer all the time. Dan Lloyd has got 10 laps of boost left, 11 for Gordon Shedden. Jake Hill only has 7 left. He only started with 9, of course. He was on that slightly reduced scale by dint of being well up in the championship, and you can see the way the gap is coming down. The BMWs, we said before the race had started, have looked really quick this weekend, and look at the way that Jake Hill is right up with Dan Lloyd. Side by side into Copse, they touch, but Lloyd hangs on in there.
Yeah, the boost is worth so much around here. If you're using it and the other driver isn't, it is worth a big performance gain, as much as half to 3/4 of a second.
So through Beckett's comes Dan Lloyd there with Jake Hill chasing on behind him. Then you've got in 3rd place Gordon Shedden, and he's not given up yet in his quest to get back ahead of Hill. So these 3 still squabble, and there are just under 17 laps to go as they drop towards Brooklands again. Senna Proctor is 4th, 5th is Rowbottom, 6th is Moffat, 7th is Cook. De Leon is down to 8th after his moment at Beckett's. 9th is Ingram, 10th is Sutton.
And Sutton is not close behind Ingram. He's actually well behind. This was the move here further up. That's when Sutton got into a little bit of contact that gave Ingram the run out of Beckett's onto the back straight. A lot more speed coming off the corner on the boost, I think, on this lap, and through he goes. But Sutton hasn't been able to stay with him.
No, that's right. So at the moment, you've got Sutton in 10th place, and for the race lead, Lloyd and Hill this time around. Gap, the Shedden and Proctor battle. Rowbottom coming under attack from Moffat, who is level with him at Mangat's and ahead by the time they get to Beckett's.
Yeah, that's the power of the Toka Turbo boost. If you save it all up and use it for one long stretch against a car that hasn't got any or isn't using any on the lap, it's worth that easy overtake.
Rowbottom was using the boost, I think, coming out of Beckett's to try to fight back. Meantime, this is Ingram's view, and he is hunting down Daryl De Leon, who has not, of course, been able to convert pole position into a good race result here. But let's see what does go on for the race lead. Lloyd versus Hill. It was 4/10 last time across the stripe, and this time it looks as though Dan Lloyd may have, partly by using the boost, gone away just a little bit further. Over the line there goes Dan Rowbottom, and he is still coming under attack. Josh Cook right with him now, so the Napa Racing UK Ford may lose another spot. The gap between mean the lead is up again? Now nearly 9 tenths.
Rowbottom is the first car, though, on the medium tyre. All the top 8 cars, apart from him, are on the soft tyre. So Moffat went by, and he's now under pressure, obviously, from Josh Cook. But they're on the soft tyre, and he's on the medium.
And Ingram and Sutton are on that medium as well. So their pace is tempered by dint of being on that slightly slower tyre. But you've just seen there Ingram make his move against Darrell de Leon, and that puts him up into 8th place overall, and importantly it puts a car between him and Sutton.
Well, the race hasn't panned out for Darrell de Leon at all, has it? He's never switched those tyres on and got the car going in quite the same way that Jake Hill has, and that looked like a pretty easy pass from Tom Ingram. Cook's got past Rowbottom as well.
Race leaders go by. There are lots of driving standards flags for track limit offences, pretty much to everybody within the top 10. But the Restart Racing Hyundai of Dan Lloyd leads the way. The gap's down again, though, because on that lap through, Jake Hill was a fair bit quicker, nearly half a second faster. So the gap is down. Restart Racing has not had an overall race win. Dan Lloyd then trying to hang on in there, and he's being helped possibly by Hill, being caught by Shedden. If that battle takes up attention, it takes some of the pressure off Lloyd. Shedden then in the Toyota Gazoo Racing UK Corolla fighting back against Jake Hill in that Late Tools Racing with MB Motorsport BMW, and as they get to Brooklands you can see the Hyundai has just edged away again.
Yeah, it does depend on how they're using the boost, but there's a flash of lights from Jake Hill to say he's coming. This is the move on Darrell de Leon, and through he goes. That's an easy pass for Sutton.
It is indeed, so it moves him up one spot. He's back on the tail of Ingram once again as Dan Lloyd goes through. The margin this time is 0.8 of a second over Hill, then Shedden, then Proctor. Small gap back to Moffat 5th, then it's Cook with Rowbottom, Ingram and Sutton. Now this is going to be interesting, isn't it? Ingram stuck behind one Napa Racing Ford and being chased by his main rival in a Napa Racing Ford. So what's Rowbottom going to do? Let's find out.
He will drive a very defensive tight line. He'll use his boost strategically to deny Ingram, who has less than him, but he will, in doing so, back Ingram into Sutton.
So Ingram will be aware of what is fore and aft and look to try to make that move as quickly as. Rowbottom defends. Ingram goes to the inside line. He doesn't want to get himself in jeopardy, but equally he doesn't want to sit there and be caught and attacked by Sutton. So now you're going to see exactly what Ingram is made of. A tight line at the right of Luffield. He's trying to squeeze up the inside of the Ford. He's up the curb. He's on the grass. Elbows out. Ingram opens the door. There's not much that Rowbottom can do there, seemingly by way of retaliation. We know how quick that Hyundai is. They come out of Woodcote. You are riding on board with Ash Sutton, watching what's going on ahead, thinking, come on, Dan, hold him up for me, but Ingram is going to be ahead by the end of the straight, and that was not that difficult.
No, it really wasn't. I mean, the door was left open by Rowbottom at Luffield. I know Ingram used half the inside of the curb and the grass, but that's a well-known touring car move, and Rowbottom really left that door open for him.
So that allows Ingram to gain places, gain points. Now you can anticipate a switch for Rowbottom to let Sutton go by, compromise his own race for the greater good of the championship for his teammate. As far as Rowbottom is concerned, he's fighting against Dan Camish, remember, for third in the standings, while Camish is down in 16th place and Rowbottom's 8th. So he's still ahead of Dan Cam, and that's what matters to Rowbottom at the minute.
Yeah, but what they may tell Rowbottom to do is to use all of his boost every lap and try and get back in front of Ingram, because he's got more than either of the other two in terms of laps of boost.
So let's find out.
And there he's on it now. You can see the light in the rear quarter panel flashing.
Let's find out what they do decide, as Lloyd is still ahead of Hill, 0.8 of a second the margin. We've got 11 laps to go. Lloyd, Hill, Shedden the top 3. Proctor 4th. Moffat is in 5th. Josh Cook 6th. And of course Dan Lloyd is also the leading independent right now from Mikey Doble and then Chris Smiley. The independence contest really tight with just a couple of points between Doble and Lloyd, and then another point back Chris Smiley. Ingram still accelerating his way down Wellington Straight is ahead of Rowbottom, and then you've got Sutton behind. Not yet close enough to think about getting any help from his teammate.
Not at the moment. I mean, if Rowbottom can't do anything with Ingram, they will switch places, but I think I can see what they're trying to do at the moment. But Ingram's got really good pace in this race.
And another Hyundai battle, Adam Morgan versus Tom Chilton, the two Team Virtue teammates running together. They accelerate now towards Woodcote with Charles Rainford just up the road a little bit as they dive now through Copse Corner. That's Senna Proctor with a bit of damage. Aidan Moffat behind him. The series technical team don't often like flapping bodywork, and there is a little bit of it on the back of Senna Proctor's car now. Moffat right there behind him, and Josh Cook 6th in the Toyota, trying to buy into this as well.
Well, since the officials clamped down on flapping bodywork with mechanical warning flags, we've seen the teams beef up the wheel arches, and we haven't seen it for a while, but I think that's probably marginal. Is Sutton going to go past now? Yeah, Rowbottom's going to let him through. So Rowbottom's attack on Ingram has failed to materialise.
Dan Rowbottom, even with the indicator on there, so made it very obvious what was going on. And come on past Ash, he says. I'll peel over here. So yeah, indicator on. He doesn't even do that on the road. Coming out of Luffield then, accelerating up towards the end of lap number 13. Dan Lloyd goes by. Race leader then, and the margin down fractionally. 7/10 he has over Jake Hill. Gordon Shedden staying with them, isn't he? And look at this, 4th, 5th, 6th. Now you've got Proctor, you've got Moffat, you've got Cook all running together. Ingram is 7th, the best of the drivers on the medium tyre.
Chilton's made extremely good progress from the back of the grid. Another charge, a bit like we saw at Donington. Drove a fantastic race there to charge through, but he's up to a 13th from the back.
And Dan Camish 16th, so progress, but not quite to the same level. This is how we stand in the championship. Ingram ahead of Sutton. It will be 33 points. That margin.
1 point more than they came in. 32.
With Dan Camish hanging on to 3rd for now, but with Dan Rowbottom getting closer to him in that battle between those two Napa Racing teammates. You're looking at Proctor versus Moffat. You're looking at 4th and 5th as they come out of Luffield, and Josh Cook sometimes close, sometimes dropping back a little bit in the Toyota there in 6th spot. There are the leaders. It was 7/10 last time. It's down to just under half a second this time. Jake Hill having another push.
Another push indeed as they choose which laps to use their Toka Turbo boost. At the moment, Lloyd's got 5 laps left. Hill's only got 3. Shedden actually has the most at 7.
Yeah, all of that experience and guile of Gordon Shedden. Do not rule him out yet, as there's another good scrap coming wide out of Copse Corner. Mikey Doble there. All of that is round about 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th places. In and amongst it, Doble, Chilton, Rainford, and that's Chilton getting ever so slightly squirrely under braking as he arrives at Beckett's ahead of Aaron Taylor-Smith.
Yeah, Camish was the beneficiary there. He gained a couple of places now.
A replay of what happened on the previous lap at Luffield. Mikey Doble being given a bit of help by Chilton, and that put him into the back of Daryl De Leon, and Mikey Doble's car getting well and truly roughed up. This is on board with Camish.
Yeah, watching it unfold, a driver always looks further ahead. You don't look at the car in front, you look at what's going on in front of them. He gets a good run coming off Luffield, and later on in the lap makes the place.
Lead gap 0.6 of a second as Cook now attacks Moffat, former teammates of course, and as they accelerate up towards Maggots, then Josh Cook's going to be on the outside for Maggots, but the inside for Beckett's. He's ahead at Maggots just, and as the road comes to him at Beckett's, they turn right, he secures the place. So Josh Cook up into 5th spot now.
Yeah, it's a really good place to use the Toka Turbo boost there coming out of Copse, because you get an overlap and immediately you've got the inside for Beckett's. I have seen Mikey Doble retire into the pits.
Oh dear, so damage perhaps sustained after that bit of contact up at Luffield. The car did look a little crab-like when it came through, so Mikey Doble's independent hopes take a knock. And a real up-and-down season for Mikey. Outright race win at Snetterton, lots of independent success, and then all the drama, of course, of that power-maxed fire, switch of car, and trying to rebuild the season from Knock Hill onwards. There's the race leader, Dan Lloyd, and now the gap bigger than ever over Jake Hill. It's got up to a second. He has got 3 laps of boost left. Jake Hill has got 2. Gordon Shedden still got 5. So he can really have happy hour, as it were, now, because by the end, if he doesn't use any on this lap, he will then have enough boost to go to the end on every lap.
Exactly, as against only 3 laps for Lloyd and 2 for Hill. But it's been an exemplary drive. Oh, this is Sutton, very close to the back of Ingram. This is our 2 championship rivals, don't forget. Is this because Sutton has a little bit better tyre life at the end of the race? This track very hard on the front tyres because of the 3 tight corners. Now, is that just a case of using boost, or is it because he's got better tyre life?
A little bit of tyre smoke from Ingram as he locked it up coming down towards Brooklands, but yeah, Sutton having a go. He desperately has to be, never mind needs to be. He's just got to get ahead of Ingram. He's got to take any point away from Tom that he possibly can to help in the championship. And there is Nick Hamilton with a problem. Flame from underneath as well. I was about to tell you that the gap between the race leaders had come right down again to 3/10, so from a second down to 3/10. Hill's only got 1 lap of boost left though. and depending on what's coming out of the bottom of Nicholas Hamilton's car, the road might be a bit slippery. That's Chilton with a problem, and has he got a puncture? Because the rear of the car doesn't look good. Yeah, left rear, so he's heading for the pit lane. But I'm a bit fearful of all that flame and any liquid from Hamilton's car.
Yeah, he's pulled off, but this could necessitate a safety car if the marshals need to be on track. That's well and truly alike, that car.
It is.
And of course, Nick Hamilton, not the quickest to get out of the car, but he's out safely, I think. It just shows the power of that total turbo boost, because he'll close that gap massively on the last lap using it.
Now, of course, the question is how close to a marshal's post for the fire extinguisher is Nick Hamilton's car. He stopped it as soon as he can do. Safety car is deployed, and we have a maximum of 3 laps to add on. But the safety car is called because of the Nick Hamilton fire, and this is really bad news for Dan Lloyd.
It's bad news for Dan Lloyd, probably bad news for Tom Ingram as well, because he would have been much happier if that gap had stayed open rather than close the whole pack up. That car is massively alight.
Yeah, it is, and unfortunately it's in a place where the marshals can't easily get to it. You can see Nick has stopped as best he can, as soon as he can, but now the fire truck is there, but it's been ablaze for a good 20-30 seconds, I fear, and that's not going to be seen again today, I would have feared, because not only is there an engine that's gone, there's all the bodywork damage, there's all the residual damage from the extinguishant, and still quite a bit of fuel on board, so the marshals very bravely attacked the fire, but we are under safety car here.
Fortunately, the wind is blowing the smoke away from the circuit, so it's not going to come across the circuit, but it's hard to put out, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Look, it's the extinguisher's hardly touching it initially. The fire is underneath the front bonnet, and look, that extinguisher's run out, and the fire is not tamed at all. It's very hard to get at the source of the fire.
And the longer it lasts, the more damage is being done. Let's have another look. So Nick Hamilton goes up towards Beckett's. He's aware perhaps of a problem, and there the flame starts to lick underneath the car. And
there was fluid coming out.
Yeah.
Can you see there's fluid coming out? So it's an oil fire, the worst type underneath there.
That's what I was saying about being fearful of liquid on the road. The message gets through to Nick. You need to stop, 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 which he does, but it's a blaze that's going to take quite a bit of time to put out, and the marshals are still attacking it. So there is Nicholas Hamilton just walking back to the car, but I rather fear that's his day done, because I think that would have done a lot of damage.
Yeah, now the marshals have really got on top of that well. They've got on top of it with that second extinguisher, and have saved the worst possible damage, which will be a total loss on the car.
So Dan Lloyd goes past and possibly thinks to himself, I hope this blaze carries on, because he doesn't really want that many racing laps the other side of the safety car. He'd be very happy to finish now. Look at the concentration here. Dan, as I said earlier on, he has been an outright race winner. He's got 3 victories to his name. But if he were to give Restart Racing the team's first outright win, he would be the hero of the hour. And sort of pulls himself together there, look, coming down towards Brooklands, gives himself a shake.
That's exactly what that is. That's just right. Get a grip of yourself. Don't relax too much under the safety car. Keep your concentration up. That's literally a little aide menoir that you see drivers do. But yeah, for him personally, it would be fantastic. He really struggles to put the budget together to go racing. He's one of the most enthusiastic race drivers out there. He has his own TV channel, DLTV, and he has a lot of supporters. He had the financial hurdle of a blown engine to overcome halfway through the year, and this would be a fantastic reward for him if he can pull off this victory.
Peter Jones, the man behind Restart Racing these days, big investment made, a lot of plans, and he would be not only a very happy man, but a very proud man if his team could add its name to the list of outright race winning squads in the championship. The sister car of Chris Smiley, of course, had a tougher day in qualifying. Chris a bit further back in the queue, but nervous times now. The race elongated to 25 laps because of this safety car period. We add on a maximum of 3, but as long as those vehicles are still trackside, then that's helping Dan Lloyd, because every time he goes past, one more lap of that 25 completed. Yeah,
and of course it means that when he does resume, he'll have less laps, maybe no laps without the boost. If it restarts again with 2 laps of boost, he'll be able to use it for both laps. So it's actually very useful for someone like Shedden, who had 3 laps left. He didn't want to be running race laps under the safety car.
No, but equally, Dan will perhaps be thinking about stacking Jake Hill into Gordon Shedden. The teams will be no doubt telling drivers of exactly how much boost they have and their rivals have. So we're on to lap 22 out of 25.
So this is on board with Camish. Look further ahead, 2 cars up. And this is the spin for Chilton. He's obviously got a problem on the left rear. I think the puncture was already there. That caused him to spin. And then he drove straight into the pit lane.
He did indeed. There he gets all sideways. How that tyre went pop will be interesting to find out. It was a big, big lose.
Yeah.
And not even Captain Car Control can save that.
No, but probably from a little touch with somebody and it's just punctured the tyre.
He has rejoined down in 20th place. So we've lost Mikey Doble, we've lost Nicholas Hamilton, although I think Mikey Doble has gone back out at least to try to take some independence points if he can. The work is still going on, look, around Nicholas Hamilton's car. Dan Lloyd thinking, that's it, you take your time, boys.
Yeah, definitely. He would be quite happy for this race to finish behind the safety car. Haven't seen that for a very long time, actually.
So the cars now come through Luffield. There is Mikey Doble back on track. You can see the damage to the front of the car. So Mikey, who had a pole position from Silverstone, of course, years ago, has had a tougher race. He's going to be way, way down, but just taking independence points is what he's after here.
Yeah, and hats off to the Power Max team who have done a lot of work on that Cupra to try and make it feel as much as possible like the Astra that they, of course, lost in that fire. And Mikey Doble qualified 11th, which was a good effort.
Absolutely. And he is giving away independent championship points to both Dan Lloyd and Chris Smiley, so that's going to be an interesting situation post-race. The cars now then turn their way through Copse, and Dan Lloyd is on lap 23, so I'm rather fearing that at best we get one racing lap in, but it may be that we just go to the end under safety car, because not only does the fire have to be put out, but also the incident vehicles need moving. The car may well need moving as well. And Dan Lloyd, we reckon, is going to be 4 points ahead in the independent, so he catapults himself into the lead coming through this race.
Yeah, no real movement on the safety cars at all there.
No.
So I don't see it happening because it's such a short lap. If it was a long lap, the maximum you can ever have is 3 laps behind the safety car because of fueling issues. But because it's such a short lap, we run those laps down very quickly.
And the marshals are still concerned that something might reignite. You can see almost like Ghostbusters. They're standing there with the hoses ready to attack any more embers of the fire. So we've now done 23 laps. At best, we're going to get 1 racing lap, but I think we're going to run to the end under safety car.
Yeah, that's not going to get we're not going to get the vehicle moved and the safety vehicles moved while they're still looking at a potential flare-up.
Well, Dan Lloyd, as Tim has made the point, is one of the hardest working drivers within the paddock. He's been in and out of the British Touring Car Championship. We've seen him racing in Carrera Cup. We've seen him racing in TCR. We've seen him racing in what was then called the Blockpan Endurance Series, the European GT Series, endurance race for GT cars. But he loves the BTCC. He worked so hard to be on the grid, and it looks as though, even though it will be under safety car, he is going to take a 4th career win. Look at that, cross fingers in the restart garage, and they're all conscious that lap by lap, corner by corner, they are edging closer to Restart Racing's first outright victory. Dan and Chris Smiley, winners for BTC Racing, which in a sense was a sort of previous iteration of this squad when it was Bert Taylor's team. But at the end of lap 24, there's going to be 1 to go behind the safety car. We'd better not say anything just in case there's a drama on the last lap, but Dan Lloyd is almost home and dry.
Yeah, he should be able to relax now, but he's still concentrating. Don't want anything daft to happen, but he doesn't need to be doing any more weaving or anything else. He's just got to follow the safety car around and keep the car running. But a fantastic ride. Remember, he started 3rd and had to be aggressive to get that lead. He's earned this race 4th. Sorry, it wasn't given to him. He started 4th and he's gone out and won it.
Of course, we hope that the cars get through post-race scrutineering checks. We've had a couple of times where Chris Smiley's sister car has been excluded from races. either for weight or for ride height dramas. So they'll be fingers crossed until they see it come off the scrutineering patch. But the celebrations are starting because the checkered flag is ready, and Restart Racing's first outright victory is going to come at Silverstone, it seems, and it's going to come courtesy of Dan Lloyd. And maybe he'll go and see Nicholas Hamilton a bit later on and commiserate about the car, but at least buy him a drink, because that safety car period and the length thereof has not given him the win, but it's certainly taken the pressure off.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd like to have done it without the safety car, but he's not going to give this one up. Congratulations, Dan Lloyd, and congratulations, Restart Racing and everybody within the team.
A 12th different winner of the season beckons then, and it is going to be Dan Lloyd. The man from Huddersfield leads the pack through Woodcote Corner, and a 4th career victory, his first of the year. The checkered flag awaits. Dan Lloyd wins our first race of the day in the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship, and a delighted team, a delighted driver as well. Dan Lloyd has done it. Jake Hill second, Gordon Shedden third. They were all denied the chance to challenge as we finished under the safety car, but you can see how much that means to one of the hardest triers on the grid.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear his interview. He's going to be absolutely ecstatic.
Door open, a wave to the marshals, a wave to the fans, and yeah, brilliant.
He still has a job to do, which is to drive around and pick up as much of the rubber marbles on the tyres as he can to try and lift that front ride height. Don't apply the brakes hard and squish the front suspension down. Drivers have been told not to drive on the grass and the dirt. They were told that at the driver's briefing, and ecstatic reaction in the pit lane.
A drama there. That is a tyre that has gone for the BMW of Darrell de Leon. So left front, and he has made it to the end 13th. That's a soft tyre.
Yeah, he should stop really, because he's just doing damage. He's already taken the checkered flag. He doesn't need to do any more damage. He'd be better off lifting that car and bring it back.
The team will have seen that, and no doubt on the radio be telling him to either slow or stop. But interesting to see how that's come about after those slow laps behind the safety car. But Dan Lloyd, yes, he has a job to do. He's running wide to get the pickup to help with the weight and the ride height of the car to therefore comply with the regulations. And he will make his way down the pit lane. So another Hyundai victory, but out of the Restart Racing stable this time.
And in the championship battle, Ingram did finish, of course, 1 place in front of Sutton.
Yeah.
We saw that graphic on the points. That just changes the points by 1 point in favour of Ingram. So it's 1 race out of 6 gone, where Sutton hasn't been able to encroach on that points lead.
So this is the one nervy bit that remains as the ride height roller goes under. And all looks good there. Then the car will be weighed, and then Dan Lloyd will be released. He is an independent winner as well as a race winner, and the car now heads to the flat patch, heads to the scales. All the data computed by that TOCA technical team. Jake Hill for second place, Gordon Shedden for third, and Dan, slightly heart in mouth, will get the signal in a moment to fire up the engine and to make his way into that Parc Fermé area. Dan Lloyd then, our first race winner of the day. Jake Hill for second, Gordon Shedden for third. The car is released, and to the P1 board. Dan Lloyd stops. Mickey Butler from Goodyear arrives to just take the information from the tyres, to have a look at pressures and temperatures. But Dan Lloyd is not that fussed about tyres. He's concerned about being a race winner, and it's been a long time between victories. Well done to Dan Lloyd then. It was Croft in 2022 when he last stood on the top step of the podium. He hurls himself at the engineers to start the celebration, and Dan Lloyd it is who wins race 1 here at Silverstone. And you can argue to a degree he was helped by that safety car, but even so, brilliant stuff. Anthony Williams from Accelerate, the other Hyundai squad, goes to say well done, and the engineers are absolutely over the moon and as delighted as Dan himself. Round 25 then of the championship, a win for Dan Lloyd. Jake Hill second and Gordon Shedden taking third. Senna Proctor fourth ahead of Josh Cook, Aidan Moffat sixth, with Tom Ingram seventh, significantly ahead of Ash Sutton. Dan Rowbottom ninth, and the top 10 rounded out by Adam Morgan. Aaron Taylor-Smith 11th ahead of Dan Camish up from the rear of the grid. Darrell De Leon 13th ahead of Charles Rainford. And the last championship point going the way of Chris Smiley in the other Restart Racing Hyundai. Just out of the points, Max Buxton's Toyota, Dexter Patterson's Cupra, then Nick Halstead. Sam Osborne had a time penalty for track limits. Tom Chilton 20th after his puncture and a pit stop. 21st went the way of Mikey Doble, and we lost Nicholas Hamilton, of course. That was the reason for the safety car due to the fire. And the fear is that we may well have lost Nick for the day, because I fear a lot of damage has been done in that blaze. So where do we stand then in terms of the championship? Tom Ingram 33 ahead of Ash Sutton, and Dan Camish is still just ahead of Dan Rowbottom. That gap narrows in race 1. Jake Hill's 5th ahead of Tom Chilton. Adam Morgan is 7th. You've got Charles Rainford, Senna Proctor and Darrell De Leon now rounding out that top 10. And the other championship that is significant is for the independents. Well, that came with a really tight situation. Mikey Doble ahead, but only just. Well, now it's Dan Lloyd 4 ahead of Chris Smiley, and Mikey Doble drops to 3rd. So he finds himself with a 7-point deficit to make up against Dan Lloyd. But he's got 2 more races here at Silverstone in which to do it. So a feel-good story, that is for sure. Dan Lloyd, Restart Racing are victorious. And there he is. So let us have a look at the grid then, as the cars have got one more run around the national circuit before they get to the grid. Dan Lloyd lines up on pole position, winner earlier on in the day. Jake Hill with him at the front. Lining up 3rd is Gordon Shedden. Senna Proctor 4th ahead of Josh Cook and Aidan Moffat, with Tom Ingram rounding out the top 7. They have got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 laps of boost going up through the grid. From here on in, everyone's got 12. Ash Sutton there, the maximum amount of boost available to him. He is going to line up 8th ahead of Dan Rowbottom and Adam Morgan. 11th is Aaron Taylor-Smith, then it's Dan Camish, Darrell De Leon with that puncture at the end of the earlier race after a flat spot. 14th Charles Rainford, then it's Chris Smiley and Max Buxton. Dexter Patterson goes from 17th, then Nick Halstead, and you've got Sam Osborne for 19th, Tom Chilton 20th, Mikey Doble is 21st. Nick Hamilton's car has been withdrawn after all of the damage, and we understand Dan Camish is in the pit lane. Yes, he is. Engine problems potentially. Bonnet up. He was 12th on the grid. If Dan Cam starts at all, it is going to be from the pit lane, and it was a disappointing day yesterday when he failed the ride height check. Life has just got no better for him. Yeah, and as he said, he's one of the point scorers for teams and manufacturers, so that's very important for the team. Never mind his battle for 3rd place with Dan Rowbottom, separated by just 13 points. And indeed, he is fighting for that 3rd with Dan Rowbottom, as you say, and Rowbottom, starting from 9th on the grid, was always going to have a good chance anyway. It's just become even better if Camish can even start the race. He's going to be last into the first corner. Dan Lloyd then arrives at the front of the grid. Esteemed Silverstone commentator Ian Titchmarsh was reminding me earlier on that Dan, in about 2005, was the BRDC Stars of Tomorrow kart champion, the prize for which was a season of Ginetta Junior racing, and he went on to have great success in that. And here we are, 20 years on, another touring car race winner, and pole position for this 2nd race of the day. Up to the grid they come. Dan Lloyd then on pole. Jake Hill with him, and he's got to be a potential race winner. We know how good the BMs are off the line, but then which Tom Ingram have we got here? Have we got Tom Ingram going for points, or have we got Tom Ingram with 11 laps of boost and on a soft tyre and a quick car going for a race win? We'll find out. What we don't have is Dan Camish. Yeah, very disappointed, Dan, but you're right, a fascinating battle in prospect between Sutton and Ingram. You know, if this was earlier in the year, you'd be putting your money on Ingram to potentially win this with 11 laps of boost and soft tyres, but just depends how brave he wants to be. We are about to find out, aren't we? So, a gap where Dan Camish is not, sadly, and that's another blow to Napa Racing in that team's championship. It's a boost for Rowbottom for 3rd. All eyes on the lights, though, because now they are red, and this is round 26, and it is go with a good start made by Hill, as you would anticipate in the BMW. He launches up the inside of Dan Lloyd, who can't close the door as they get towards Copse, and Jake Hill's going to lead into the first corner, side by side with the Hyundai on the outside. Dan Lloyd gets run out wide, so does Shedden. Even wider than anybody else there goes Aidan Moffat's BMW, and Jake Hill and Dan Lloyd are still side by side. outside, but the road's going to come to Jake on the inside up towards Beckett's. He will lead. Lloyd second, Shedden third.
Lloyd tried desperately to attack Hill at the start, but Hill was bound to get to the first corner first.
And Ingram's already up into fourth place. He's made an absolute rocket ship start, look, and Senna Proctor is going to let him go in a straight line. So there is Ingram. I apologise, he's third because he's cleared Shedden as well. So this is the answer to which Ingram is in the car. It's the feisty Tom Ingram. Sutton's up the curve on the inside as well, trying to make progress. But Tom Ingram, certainly he's set for a podium, but a race win is certainly not beyond the realms of possibility. He wants to win this championship in the best possible way. 5 race wins already, and as they come now up towards the end of lap number 1, you're going to have in the race lead Jake Hill, Dan Lloyd behind him, but an absolutely charging Tom Ingram is there. He's the best on the soft tyre, and he's got 11 laps of boost, more than those ahead.
Yeah, but Sutton's doing his very best to stay with him. He's up into 5th himself, just past Proctor on the start-finish line.
So 3 for the lead as they come up towards Beckett's. This is Ingram's view. Dan Lloyd ahead, Jake Hill leading the race, and Ingram works out where he can make that move. In 4th at the end of the lap was Gordon Shedden. It was Senna Proctor 5th and Ash Sutton in 6th place. So Sutton the best placed of the Napa Racing Fords. Ingram is the best of those for Team Virtue, and he's now taken 2nd place away from the restart Hyundai. Shedden closing up as well to attack, but Ingram having started from 7th on the grid up into 2nd place, and he's not done yet.
Well, he's got judicious laps with boost, and you might as well use them when you need to get past people on the way in. Watch this. He takes a Giovanardi line. He goes in wide, and watch him cut to the inside, straighten the steering wheel to get more grip off the corner. That's an old Fabrizio Giovanardi line. He's on the boost as well, and he's going to clear Lloyd before they get to the braking area.
So, as he came across the line, Tom Ingram had set the fastest lap of the race and was 4/10 of a second behind Jake Hill. And there's a lot of pleasure in watching that in the Team Virtue garage then, as Ingram makes his way through up in a 2nd spot. There is the Dan Lloyd and Gordon Shedden battle for 3rd place. Remember, Dan Lloyd has fewer laps of boost than anybody, and now that is starting to tell, because Shedden's got past him and Sutton's going to make a move surely by the end of Wellington Straight. But for the race lead, Tom Ingram to the outside line. That's brave at Brooklands. Can he have the inside line for Luffield? No is the answer, because Jake Hill is able to crowd him out. So Tom Ingram serves intent, but just look at the pace of that Hyundai right up behind the BMW, and Ingram has worked his way through from 7th onto the boot lid of the BM.
Well, remember in qualifying, Ingram didn't have any boost. He had 1 second. You can see the light flashing there as he uses it. Now we're seeing just what sort of pace Ingram's got in the Team Virtue Hyundai, because he's got loads of laps of boost, which is 15 seconds each lap, as opposed to 1 that he had in qualifying, and he's got the preferred soft tyre on, so it's almost inevitable that he's going to get this race lead.
And again, he tries that line coming through Beckett's, tighter on the exit. Jake Hill hangs on to it for now. We understand from Louise that it could be a turbo pipe for Dan Camish, but in the lead there are no dramas for Ingram, who just uses the boost to breeze on by Jake Hill. And you can see the effect of the boost there. It didn't look as though he was going to be able to do it, but the extra power of the boost kicks in, and there's nothing Jake Hill can do in a straight line to repel what is a very quick car anyway. So Ingram is the race leader, and Dan Camish, as I say, effectively a non-starter from the race. The team think, but not sure that it is a turbo boost pipe. Now, let's have a look from Ash Sutton's point of view at Lloyd versus Shedden here.
Lloyd versus Shedden, right on the inside is Sutton. He manages to open that gap, open that door as they come out of Luffield and into Woodcote, and he's through.
Race leaders come out of Cops, and now this is the run up towards the left of Maggots, up towards Beckett's. Dan Lloyd there with Ash Sutton behind him. Then Dan Rowbottom as well. So they're the 2 Fords running together. Rowbottom sitting behind Sutton, protecting from anybody else getting up the order. But what Sutton needs to be is ahead of Ingram, and Ingram leads the race, and that would give him a 42-point advantage if he were to win this and Sutton stay where he is. But Ash gains a place, diving down towards Brooklands. He moves past Dan Lloyd. That puts Ash up into 3rd place.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that Ford on the brakes, is there? Because that was a lunge from a long way back on a tighter line, and he got it nicely stopped for the apex.
Race leaders through again then. So Tom Ingram, race leader, he's on the softs. The 2nd of those on the soft tyre is Aaron Taylor-Smith in 9th place. 2nd is Hill, 3rd is Sutton, 4th is Lloyd, 5th Rowbottom and 6th Shedden. Now the gap between Hill and Sutton as they went across the line was 1.9 seconds. That's what the Ford has got to try to make up now. We're looking at a 40-point difference in the championship.
Yeah, fastest lap gives that extra point. So at the moment, was a wiggle on the brakes there from Shedden on the braking for Beckett's. But yeah, at the moment he's got all three cherries. He's got winning the race, leading a lap, and fastest lap. That's Ingram I'm talking about, obviously.
As the race leaders again dive down towards Brooklands. So there is Ingram, away and gone on the soft tyre. Jake Hill in second place, and Ash Sutton trying to chip away at the BMW. Now Ingram was asked a bit out of that soft tyre early on, and this is how he got the race lead. This is Jake Hill coming through Beckett's and on board with Ingram. Accelerates out of the corner.
Yeah, a little strange one there. There was a dab of the brakes, or maybe he was, well, he wouldn't have been flashing his lights because no one in front of him, but a little bit of an odd one there.
Ingram through. Now, are we anticipating any dramas in a soft tyre lasting to the end, especially the way that Tom is ragging the car and working his way through the pack?
Well, now he's got to the front, he can drive his lines. That's the line of least resistance on the tyre. He's not going to be doing any sort of urgent sort of steering corrections or late braking. He should be able to smoothly drive a rhythm. He doesn't need to drive any faster than just keep a 1.5 second gap, and he should be okay. It's warmer now, which is good actually for the soft tyre. It stops any graining as we've got a massive battle going. Well, I'm talking about tyres, and there's great on-track action.
And it's a battle pack of, what, 6 pretty much coming out of Luffield. Tom Ingram has gone by to lead the race now by 1.4 seconds from Jake Hill, who is 1.2 out of Ash Sutton. That means the gap second to third is coming down. Rowbottom is up to 4th now. Dan Lloyd's dropped to 5th. In 6th it's Proctor, then Shedden 7th, Morgan is 8th, Rainford is 9th, and 10th Aidan Moffat, but maybe not for long, because behind, look, there's the charging Chilton. And as they head up towards Maggots, Chilton's going to go through on the inside, and he secures that place into Beckett's.
Oh, that was a peach of it, because he outbraked from the wrong side, really, but man, he did it really late, slid across the front with a perfectly timed and judged move across the front of Moffat. That was lovely from Chilton.
Independent leader currently. A little way down the order is Dan Lloyd now in 5th place, and this is all looking good for Restart Racing in order to secure that part of the championship. The leaders are coming up to the end of lap number 8 out of 22, and Chilton gets stuck into Rainford and knocks him sideways, and Chilton has done damage to the car and he's in the gravel, and that, after a peach of a move earlier on in the lap, ends up with a puncture and broken suspension, and Chilton is out, and this could be a safety car because he's stuck in the gravel on the exit of Luffield.
It almost certainly will be. He was going so well. He looked for that cutback to the inside, but the gap just closed up and it banged his left front, and that caused the instant puncture and suspension breakage. So a great charge from Chilton. Unfortunately, it didn't pay off this time.
Safety car boards and flags are being prepared, and Tom Ingram's lead is going to disappear under the safety car, courtesy of his teammate. That wasn't the plan.
That certainly wasn't, no.
Safety car called.
And of course, with Sutton up in 3rd, right behind Hill, it'll close them all up on the restart, which is just what Sutton wanted. But honestly, it'll give a little bit of reprieve to Ingram's tyres, and he's on the soft, remember. He can just cool those down, let the pressures readjust, and I don't think he'll have any problem re-establishing that lead on the restart.
So, safety car deployed, the 17th time in a touring car race this year we've seen the safety car, and Tom Chilton trudges away. It was a move at Luffield that didn't work, and the net result, as you can see, damage and out of the race. Let's piece it together, Tim.
Yeah, he's on the wide angle, goes for a little bit of the cutback, looks open at this point, but then Rainford takes his line, and that little touch, it doesn't take much, is enough to puncture and break the front suspension.
And the car ends up in the gravel. Here it is from a different angle. That's part 2 of the incident. The first contact already made. It was never going to steer, and off it goes across the gravel into the wall. And here it is from another angle. There is the first bit of contact. That's what does the damage. There's the second bump, but by that stage, Chilton was heading in one direction only.
Yeah, the first bump was what did the damage, wasn't it? But he then couldn't steer the car, so off it went. So he'll have to get... The Accelerate will get that car rebuilt, and I'm sure we'll see a charge from Tom in race 3.
So, safety car deployed. We can add on a maximum of 3 laps under safety car conditions like this. Tom Ingram, race leader, making a run behind the safety car. Now having a think about the car, the tyres, how much boost he has. He has started the race with 11 laps worth. He's got 8. Jake Hill behind has got 3. So Tom's still in the pound seat in terms of not only the speed of the car naturally, but also the amount of extra boost. And we're looking at 40 points between him and Ash Sutton.
And Dan Rowbottom obviously into 3rd with the no race, non-start for Camish, albeit 140 points back from the other 2. So he won't be in a mathematical chance of winning the championship either.
So the safety car on track as the recovery vehicle needs to get to the Hyundai. It needs to be moved out of harm's way, and the road will be clear. There's the race 1 winner then, Dan Lloyd, making his way down towards Brooklands. And you've got a little bit further back the battle between Charles Rainford and Daryl De Leon. They are 11th and 13th, for Rutherford's being Rainford ahead of De Leon. Rainford's on that soft tyre, but that is the Jack Sears trophy battle. Jack Sears, double British Touring Car champion, indeed the first ever when it was the British Saloon Car champion, a former BRDC president. Dan Lloyd leading the independence contest by 7 points over Chris Smiley, Mikey Doble 3rd, and all of this is looking ever more likely that Restart Racing is going to secure that teams award within this race, and that will be quite something. Team owner Peter Jones was a bit shell-shocked after that outright win. He came into the hospitality area with a trophy and couldn't quite believe he was holding a winner's trophy.
Well deserved. I'm sure he'll treasure that one for a very long time indeed. It's funny, isn't it, when you look at Dan Lloyd's eyes, even under a safety car, even before the race, they look like they're popping out on thought. And then you see the calm sort of nature of Tom Ingram, and it never flinches, does it?
But it was a very happy Dan, rather emotional Dan, having won that earlier race. Tom Ingram's Hyundai, same type of car, but ran out of a different stable. Team Virtue, the Accelerate team. That is a Hyundai that doesn't look like it should with that damage on the left front corner. Tom Chilton's car out of the gravel. Ingram leading the race on softs. The second car on softs is only 10th, Aaron Taylor-Smith. 11th on softs, Charles Rainford. 12th on softs, Chris Smiley.
Well, there are only the 4 of them that started on the soft for this race. There's going to be a fair few in race 3. This is on board for the start. Now his eyes are a bit more wide open, aren't they, when they look for the lights to go out. There's no green light, the red lights just go out. Looking in all the mirrors to see where everybody is. Give yourself some space in turn 1. He gets a tremendous run through Cops as the other 3 cars in front of him. That's Proctor, another stablemate in front, and he's right down the inside, trusting on Proctor not to turn in. That works out beautifully for him, and he gets a really good run off the corner as well. Look at him looking to his left at the Toyota Corolla and behind, pulling the gears almost instinctively, and now he can move across and brake and get into that 3rd place. Fabulous first lap.
It got better and better and better, didn't it, as Ingram hit the lead. And we are now on to lap number 13 of the race. It is going to be extended, of course, because of this safety car interruption.
Lights are out.
So we're going to go racing this time then, as the cars will come back down towards Brooklands, and Tom Ingram is going to control the start. Is this going to give Ash Sutton a chance potentially to have a go at Jake Hill for 2nd place? He needs a lifeline, and he's been thrown one here.
Yeah, and Ash Sutton as well. I think Jake will probably be more interested in defending from Ash than attacking Ingram, which is going to help Ingram. Of course, under the new restart rules, all the cars have to follow each other nose to tail until they get to the go board, which is coming up right now. And watch for it. It's at the start of the pit lane. There.
So now Tom Ingram accelerates away. We are back racing under a green flag at Silverstone, and straight away Dan Lloyd to the inside to try to defend his place on the way down towards Copse Corner. Hill has a cheeky look on the inside to get past Ingram, but Sutton's going to be on the attack surely, heading up towards Beckett. Hill goes wide. Sutton not close enough to get up alongside, heading towards Maggots, and I fear he won't be close enough to lunge up the inside going into Beckett's, and indeed he is not. So Ingram gets away and Hill hangs on to 2nd place. 25 laps now the distance because of the safety car.
No repeat of the Donington incident. All right out wide on the grass is Proctor. That will lose him speed, and someone's bonnet's up as well. Is that Morgan?
I think you're right. Adam Morgan's Team Virtue Hyundai. Visibility is limited as he comes down towards Brooklands. So Adam Morgan is heading for the pit lane. He's got into the back of somebody to cause the damage. So poor old Adam Morgan, 4 2nd places this year, having another tough day. And he's going to have to head for the pit lane. You'll see through the bottom underneath the bonnet that's flipped up, but there's no way he can carry on like that. So into the pits he will come. Ingram leads. Hill 2nd at the end of the lap, 7/10. Hill to Sutton, half a second.
Yes, I was about to say no repeat of Dan Rowbottom's faux pas at Donington when he ran into the back of teammate, but this time he managed to protect the back of him very nicely from Lloyd.
So Ingram, the race leader, coming out of Beckett's then. Hill second, Sutton is third, Rowbottom fourth, and dropping back a little bit, therefore protecting Sutton by keeping everybody else stacked up behind him. That Proctor going wide as Rainford and Moffat and Chris Smiley dive up the inside. Chris Smiley's making progress, isn't he? Chipping his way up the order. Had a car that he said was a bit oversteery in the first race of the day, but now going strongly as the field drops down again towards the left of Brooklands. Still, that leading independent is Dan Lloyd, and the two Toyotas there getting themselves absolutely together coming up towards Luffield.
Proctor being hung out to dry on the outside there by Aaron Taylor-Smith as the two BMWs go through. And across the line, it is Proctor that gets roughed up, definitely. The team were trying to fix that bonnet, but it's not an easy fix, and it needs to be very secure to stop the wind getting underneath it.
So there you've got Adam Morgan's repair work. How did the damage come? Have a look in the background of this, because he's ahead. He's behind centre Proctor. He gets up the inside, and then as they accelerate out of the corner, maybe there'd already been contact, and as the air gets underneath, bang, up goes the bonnet. But maybe that was a tap in the back of Proctor that triggered it. Now, Tom Ingram is going to be given a black and white driving standards flag for track limits, but more importantly, the second place has changed. Sutton's got ahead of Hill now.
Yeah, well, we'll see that, the way he did it. Hill's giving him flashes the lights to say, you might have got that one, but I'm coming back for you. But Hill now into second, and with that track limits warning for Tom Ingram, he cannot afford to do another track limits infringement. A 5-second penalty at this stage would be really painful.
Dan Lloyd leads the independents in the race and in the championship by 7 points. So it is now Ingram leading, Sutton second, and the margin as they came across the line was 1 second. The last lap of Sutton quicker than the last lap of Ingram.
Interesting.
So is that Ingram looking after his tyres? Is that Sutton with a better car-tyre combination underneath him? Time will tell. Down to Brooklands comes Ingram. Even if Sutton catches, he's still got to find a way past, and that ain't going to be easy. But also have a look in fourth place. Dan Rowbottom, he would like a position away from Hill, because all those points will secure him third over Dan Camish. Now this is a look at how Sutton made the move for second place, and another dive bomb on the inside into Brooklands.
Yeah, Jake Hill surprisingly, I think, didn't cover that off at all, or even try to, but yeah, it was a terrific look. Comes from quite a long way. Maybe Hill knows he's on the boost and can't defend against it, but and maybe that's what the flash of lights was, just a bit of acknowledgement. And Rowbottom's now right up behind. He's absolutely dropped Lloyd behind, and Rowbottom will want this place as well.
Indeed so, he wants a podium, and that BMW not looking quite as quick this side of the safety car as before it. Ingram still leads by 1.7 seconds, and last time had picked up the pace again. He was quicker than Sutton, so a little blip, Sutton being quicker. Ingram has stretched the margin again to 1.7 seconds as Rowbottom thinks about the attack down towards Brooklands. Outside line for Brooklands. If he can stand alongside, it's going to be the inside for Luffield, but he's not able to. Slots back in behind. The other part of all of this, of course, is that while he's trying to get past Hill, that takes pressure off Sutton. Even if Rowbottom can't make that move stick, at least it means Hill isn't attacking Sutton for second.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure quite why Hill is flashing Sutton, unless he thinks that Sutton's gained an unfair advantage somewhere and should maybe be giving it up. Don't know, we didn't see anything.
A little bit further back there, look, diving down towards Cops, Daryl De Leon trying to get himself up the inside. There's Josh Cook in that battle pack, and also Sam Osborne. So right now, race order is Ingram from Sutton from Hill, Rowbottom fourth, Lloyd fifth, Aaron Taylor-Smith up to sixth on soft, Shedden is down to seventh, up to eighth on the softs is Rainford, ninth is Moffat, 10th is Cook, and then here's this train behind involving Osborne, De Leon, Doble, Smiley, who's fallen back a little bit in the queue, and Dexter Patterson is 15th, taking the last championship point.
Whenever you see the cars 2-3 abreast into Beckett's, you think something's got to go wrong here. Down into and it's Sam Osborne. Can he hold it? Yes, he can. Well held, Sam. Little bit of contact on the braking. Obviously, the rear of the car and front wheel drive car ever so light, so nearly rotates, but planting the foot on the throttle to bring it back. Front wheel drive, spinning the wheels straight to bring it back. Good recovery. Oh, look at the gap now. Look at the gap. Whoa.
It's 3.4 seconds. Tom Ingram is away and gone. Ash Sutton in second place is having to defend again from Jake Hill. Look, the BMW has speeded up and he locks up, does Jake, going into Beckett. He's going to go wide and he's Rowbottom taking advantage of it. He's not really near enough, in fact, so Sutton does get away, but Jake Hill hangs on to that third spot. Taylor Smith's up to fifth, by the way, now. The next best on the soft tyre after Ingram.
Well, Hill and Rowbottom both have 2 laps each of boost, so they're going to parry each other, aren't they, in terms of attack and defence.
Whereas Tom Ingram has got 6 laps of boost available. He leads by 3.4 seconds, and that's after a safety car. Yeah,
we're going to see this lock-up, I think, from Hill. The rear-wheel drive cars, they just don't transfer as much weight onto the front wheels, so they don't create as much friction to brake.
So Ingram goes through 3.9 seconds. Remember, he's rebuilt that in about 5 laps after the safety car. He's got now 5 laps of boost available to him should he need it to pull away. He's got Sutton behind him second and Hill in third. Race leader then is currently on lap number 21, and we're in a 25 lap race after that safety car period. Gordon Shedden is under attack here. Charles Rainford behind him, and Shedden's trying to find a way past race 1 winner Dan Lloyd.
It just shows, doesn't it? I mean, these Ingram and Sutton started 7th and 8th, but once again, with a fair bit of boost, they're able to just drive past the first and second on the grid. They are the 2 quickest car driver combinations on the grid.
So through Brooklands comes Dan Lloyd, defending well, and all of this, remember, for 6th place. Dan Lloyd with least number of laps of boost available, and he's on that harder tyre, not by choice, but by regulation. Top 3 have to carry the harder tyre into this race.
View out the back of Lloyd into the eyes of Shedden, who's looking to move round the outside and take Rainford with him. Will he manage to get all the way round? No, he won't. Now Rainford might have the advantage on the inside. Oh, a little touch on rub on the exit. Rainford's going to get through. He'll have priority of line and choice into Beckett's and therefore braking.
Into Beckett's they come. So you've had that switch with Charles Rainford getting ahead of Gordon Shedden. Gordon tries to fight back. Charles Rainford, a race winner and indeed a pole position winner this year within the British Touring Car Championship, his rookie season, and he certainly looks like he belongs, doesn't he? As there now Sutton is getting away once more, but Rowbottom is coming under attack from Taylor Smith on the soft tyre. He's not come storming through the pack in the way that Ingram has, but ATS having one of his better showings now. The Irish driver Aaron Taylor Smith closing on Rowbottom as there. Look, Lloyd versus Rainford for 6th place. Come out of Luffield, Hyundai just ahead.
Yeah, that 4th place of Rowbottom, he had a big gap, if you remember, back to Lloyd, but that's evaporated with the safety car, and of course, as you say, Aaron Taylor Smith on the preferred soft tyre.
So through goes Rainford. He moves himself ahead of Lloyd, as you would anticipate. Soft tyre versus the harder medium. And Chris Smiley is being given a 10-second penalty for track limit abuses. Chris is 14th with the penalty, so tough day. Right, out of Beckett, there goes a trouble. Dan Rowbottom, bit of smoke out of the back of the car, and he's wilting. Taylor Smith has gone past him, and Rowbottom with the indicator on. It's not to let his teammate pass this time, it's because he's got a problem. So that's one Napa Ford that didn't start, and another Napa Ford that is looking like he's going to retire. Rowbottom's in strife.
Yeah, which means the battle for 3rd place is going to be open again if he scores no points between him and Camish. They'll both be starting at the back of the grid. What a race that'll be.
Absolutely right, and we'll be concerned at Napa as well. That's 2 mechanical dramas that have hit the cars in this race. Ingram goes through now, 3.4 seconds up the road on Sutton, 2 laps to go. Hill is 3rd, so now up to 4th is Taylor Smith, up to 5th is Rainford, Lloyd 6th. Then you've got Shedden, Moffat, Cook, De Leon in the top 10, and Rowbottom in the pits.
Yeah, no points for Robo as the 3rd of the Napa cars there. Sam Osborne, he's been fighting really hard. He had Daci. He always goes well at Silverstone, actually, Sam Osborne. Had 3 top 10s last year, which is good for that car.
So Ingram comes now down to Brooklands. And there you've got Ash Sutton hanging on to that 2nd place. Dan Camish, incidentally, has been out and back in again. So he's done a few installation laps, if you like, in anticipation of race 3. But Camish has just come back into the pit lane. You're looking back from Sutton, his Ford ahead of Jake Hill. There is Ingram, who is about to come through then now to start the last lap of the race, because 24 are in the book. And this has been yet another masterclass by Tom Ingram, has it not?
It certainly has indeed. superb first lap up to third place before corner 3, and then he's just marched imperiously to the front, as you would expect with that car with 11 laps of boost and soft tyres on it. The reverse grid is going to be very interesting. Could put him as far back as 12th on the grid. Remember, everything from 6th to 12th places will be reversed. So he could have some work to do in race 3 with, again, less boost as a result of finishing first in this race, and of course he'll be on the medium tyre.
And it's a Silverstone hero, John Watson, the 1981 British Grand Prix winner here, who is due to make the reverse grid draw as Tom Ingram makes his way out of Luffield, heading up towards the timing line. He's on the lights, he's going to be on the top step of the podium, more importantly, and he's going to increase the championship lead. It is going to be win number 6 of the season for Tom Ingram, who dominates race 2 at Silverstone. Ash Sutton comes across the line in second place. Third goes to Jake Hill, just ahead of Aaron Taylor-Smith, a 10th apart, those two. Charles Rainford 5th, Dan Lloyd is 6th, then it's Gordon Shedden, Aidan Moffat, Josh Cook and Daryl DeLeon to round out the top 10. Can you pass the box of superlatives, because I've run out for Tom Ingram. That's just yet another awesome drive.
Yeah, well, I said I don't know which Tom Ingram we're going to get. If we were early in the year, I'd put my money on him winning, and that's exactly what we got anyway. The guy's just fantastic. It's a pleasure to watch him race. But when you see the car in that spec, you know, with the boost and the soft tyres, you see just how fast the driver-car combination is, and why it is that you know, Napa Racing feel they've been fighting a slightly faster car driver combination, and that little bit of luck that they've needed to reverse Ingram's fortunes just hasn't come yet, anyway.
Indeed so, but again, we always say this, not only do good drivers show through in this, but so too do good engineers, and the Ingram-Spencer Aldridge combination, yes, we talk about it a lot, but you know, they came back fighting after the disappointment at the end of last year. They have engineered a really, really fast car.
Yeah, and we have, crucially, we haven't seen any circumstances in which that car hasn't been really good this year. Fabulous combination of team, engineer, driver.
So, Tom Ingram it is who takes race honours at Silverstone, and that a 39th career win. Second, Ash Sutton ahead of Jake Hill. Aaron Taylor-Smith up to 4th, equalling his best result of the year ahead of Charles Rainford. And 6th to the race 1 winner Dan Lloyd. 7th, Gordon Shedden ahead of Aidan Moffat and then Josh Cook. Daryl DeLeon rounding out the top 10. 11th going the way of Mikey Doble. 12th it is Sam Osborne and Max Buxton in the points. 13th ahead of Nick Halstead in the points, and Chris Smiley with the penalty dropping to 15th. It is Senna Proctor 16th and then Dexter Patterson. We lost Rowbottom, Morgan, Chilton and Camish as well. So a few cars to be repaired, both in terms of bodywork and the mechanical side of them. As far as the championship is concerned, Ash Sutton's season also needs repairing, because a 38-point deficit now to championship leader Tom Ingram is what he's staring at. Dan Camish is 3rd, but Jake Hill is up to 4th now at the expense of Dan Rowbottom, so the fight for 3rd has taken on a whole different look. Tom Chilton 6th ahead of Adam Morgan, Charles Rainford and Gordon Shedden. 10th is Daryl DeLeon. It is now Dan Lloyd 4 ahead of Chris Smiley in the independent contest. Mikey Doble needs a good 3rd race and a good Brands Hatch to be back at the races. Let's look at the grid then before we go racing. 22 laps are ahead of us, and Sam Osborne is on pole position with Mikey Doble lining up 2nd. It's Daryl DeLeon who should have been 3rd but is now missing. Josh Cook is going to be 4th. 5th on the grid, Aidan Moffat. Gordon Shedden next. Then it's Dan Lloyd starting next ahead of Charles Rainford. Aaron Taylor-Smith goes from 9th on the grid. Jake Hill will start 10th. Ash Sutton 11th, 8th and 2nd his results today. Tom Ingram is next with a 7th and a win. You've got Max Buxton 13th ahead of Nick Halstead and Chris Smiley. Senna Proctor 16th ahead of Dexter Patterson. Dan Rowbottom will go from 18th, Adam Morgan 19th, Tom Chilton 20th and Dan Camish 21st. Some big names at the back of the grid. Nick Hamilton sadly missing once more after the dramas in race 1. And Daryl DeLeon's car, if it starts at all, is going to be from the pit lane. The real problem now is getting the car to the end of the pit lane so that he doesn't drop off the lead lap, because as we know, they're short laps.
Yeah, that's very true. He loses a lap, that's game over for gaining positions. If he can just get out, and there's a lot, it just didn't. Sometimes these drive shaft changes go very quickly indeed, and sometimes they don't. It should be easier on the rear wheel drive car. The disc and the hub are all on now, so it should just fairly quickly be a case of the wheel going on, but something's going on in that hub because the drive shaft's obviously already connected.
In terms of boost, 12 laps for Osborne, Doble, De Leon if he gets into the race, Cook and Moffat, 11 for Shedden, 10 for Lloyd, 9 for Rainford, down to 5 for Tom Ingram. Osborne is on the softs, Sutton on the softs, Max Buxton, Nick Halstead on the soft tyre as well. And then further back, Dexter Patterson, Dan Rowbottom, Adam Morgan, Tom Chilton, Dan Camish. As it's worked out, the drivers that need to make progress are on the quick tyre to do it.
Yeah, although it'd be very interesting to see what Ingram's pace is on this race with less boost available in terms of laps and back on the medium tyre, because obviously he was absolutely ballistic in the race 2 with more boost and the soft tyre. Just be interesting to see what he can do.
Well, indeed. So 22 laps are in prospect then. The cars making their way up to the grid, ready for this final race of the day. And as Nicky was making the point a moment ago, after this there are just 3 more races. Tom Ingram came here as championship leader, has increased the championship lead, but there's no guarantee that it's going to be a big lead after this. It's the British Touring Car Championship after all. Busy crowd on hand here, stretching round Woodcote towards Luffield, and in late afternoon sunshine. It's chilly, but at least it's bright and it's dry. A real change from Silverstone last year for touring car racing. They are ready for what should be a really lively race. The last few cars are slotting into position in front of us on the grid. Out of our window we can see Dexter Patterson and Dan Rowbottom. Behind are there the Team Virtue Hyundais, Adam Morgan, Tom Chilton's car, and then Dan Camish lining up last. He's had a pretty forgettable day, but he might turn around, you never know. Let's see. It is now round 27 of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship from Silverstone, and it is go, and it's a good getaway from the BMW of Aidan Moffat that lines up 5th on the grid, and Charles Rainford is away rapidly up against the pit wall as Sam Osborne leads by about 3 lengths into Copse ahead of Mikey Doble. Look at the gap he's got as the field files through. 1 or 2 with their elbows out in the background, and there's a Napa Ford that has come to grief and goes wide. Was that Rowbottom? Was that Camish? Certainly one badly delayed as the cars head up towards Beckett's for the first time. Drama at Copse then.
Yeah, but a good start by Sam Osborne as out onto the grass, as further damage there. I was going to say that's Dan Lloyd. So his weekend's unravelled quickly on this last race, but hats off to Sam Osborne. He's got that start nailed and driven a good first lap. And
Mikey Doble going with him in second place then, as Ash Sutton and Jake Hill are together coming down to the end of Wellington Straight, and Osborne is trying to build a bit of a gap on this opening lap. So the car that has not made it through the first sector, Nick Halstead, shown as having not got that far. There was another one badly delayed, as I say, which I thought was possibly Rowbottom, but as they come across the stripe at the end of lap 1, it's Osborne in the lead. Doble is second, Aidan Moffat is third, Josh Cook is going through 4th, 5th is Jake Hill, Sutton's already up to 6th ahead of Rainford, Ingram, Proctor. It was Rowbottom 10th, apologies, 11th is Shedden, and out of all of this, looking to see where Tom Ingram has got himself to, he's in 8th place then, he's in the mix.
Yeah, in the mix indeed, but as Sutton is on the move, he's up 5 places to 6th position.
I think the delayed Napa Ford was Dan Camish's car in 16th spot then. Osborne it is, trying to edge away from the rest of them. Doble's second has got now Cook third and Moffat down to 4th.
As Sutton goes past Hill at his favourite overtaking place on the brakes into Brooklands.
Darryl De Leon has joined in. Nick Halstead is in the pit lane as you look back at Jake Hill's car then. So Ash Sutton making progress forward. Josh Cook on a bit of a mission up to second now, clearing Mikey Doble. So could there be a Speedworks Toyota win on the cards here? The way that Cookie is charging along, he goes over the timing line now, 1.4 seconds back from Sam Osborne, who, remember, has not ever had a touring car race win. It's a big ask with 20 laps to go to hang on in there.
It is. Briefly, Sutton set the fastest lap there, despite that overtake, but then it was beaten by Dan Camish.
And there's a point for the fastest lap as well as Cook and then Doble lock up, and a 30-second stop-go penalty for Darryl De Leon. We've had him rejoin the race, or join the race late, but he's gone through a red light at pit exit apparently.
That's for working on the car too late on the grid.
So the cars come down then towards the left-hander of Brooklands, and as they do so, the Sam Osborne forward leads the way. Cook second then, trying to get away from Doble, and then Aidan Moffat in fourth place ahead of Sutton and Hill to round out the top 6.
So this was into Beckett's. Aaron Taylor-Smith and Lloyd getting together on the exit just there. Looked like Aaron Taylor-Smith well into the back of Lloyd, wasn't it? Yeah. Absolutely speared him off. I think that'll be a conversation in the bus, because Lloyd, you definitely won't be happy about that, and didn't appear to do anything wrong.
And is a long way back in 19th place. He is still going, but a long way adrift of the pack as they go up now towards Beckett's. They're turning into the hairpin once more.
Still maintaining that healthy lead, though. Osborne over Cook, and we'll keep an eye on what the gap is. It was a second at the end of the last lap.
Fastest lap of the race, Adam Morgan, as now Moffat tries to clear Doble for third place. Side by side they run down towards Brooklands, and all of this enabling Josh Cook to try to get away a little bit more. Doble trying to stay ahead, and he's way up the road from the Restart Racing Hyundais. And this is Sutton's view then in fifth place, coming out of Brooklands. Quite like those to get involved and trip themselves up ahead, as long as he doesn't get involved in any of the tripping.
Well, they're pretty much involved, aren't they? That battle for second, Cook, Moffat and Doble, which definitely will help Sutton. He's bringing Hill with him, yeah, I think they will get it, because of course if he can get past these three, it's going to be tough to ask Sam Osborne to potentially give up his first ever win, but I'm sure he'd do it, as sliding up the inside of Doble goes Sutton. He is absolutely monstrous on the bakes. He's definitely the last of the late breakers on this grid, isn't he?
So down they come then towards the left of Brooklands. Sutton then edging his way forward. Jake Hill chasing on behind as well. So as the cars come up towards Luffield, it is still Sam Osborne in the lead, but that margin is set to diminish. He's done the fastest lap, but Josh Cook, we know, is getting a little bit nearer on this lap. And up at Luffield, Gordon Shetton is run out wide, and there's more shuffling of the order. Look, as there Doble comes through with now Tom Ingram getting in on the act as well. So Mikey Doble has been shuffled back to 6th, and Ingram is through, in fact, on the inside. So Doble is now 7th. Sutton is 4th. Ingram is 6th. He's edging towards his nemesis.
Yeah, he's just, and also what he's doing all the time is reducing that points loss that he's losing in this race. He's managed to overcome Sutton in the first 2 races, but reducing that potential points gap, the advantage he has, to a minimum over Sutton in this race. This was the exit of Ingram, getting on the power nice and early. He's going to cut across the inside, just superior straight line speed. Not sure he's on the boost or not, but clearly an advantage there to drive up past the inside of Doble.
So Ingram edging ever closer to the front. Now Josh Cook last time did the fastest lap of the race, and he's brought the gap down to just under 6/10 of a second. It is game on for the race lead. Sam Osborne possibly on borrowed time now, given the way the Toyota is going. Sutton's up to 3rd now at the expense of Moffat, and that means that Hill 5th and Ingram up into 6th place. Has now got Rowbottom behind him. Now that's going to be the interesting one. If Rowbottom can get up with Ingram and take points away, that would help Sutton as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is Sutton's absolutely nailed on for a potential win here, isn't he? But his teammate's going to do everything he can to hold up Cook, I'm sure Osborne will. Remember, Osborne's on the soft tyre.
Yeah, Cook on that medium. He's going very nicely at the moment. Sutton behind, hasn't lapped yet as quickly as Cookie has. This is the replay of the Ford of Sutton getting ahead of Moffat's BMW down into Brooklyn. So it was 0.3 of a second last time around between Osborne and Cook, and now Ingram is having to start fighting against Hill for 5th place, in the knowledge that there Rowbottom is getting closer behind.
Well, Hill's not going to do Ingram any favours for sure. Remember, Hill's right in this battle for 3rd. Look at the speed of that Hyundai. Absolutely flies just as they get up into sort of 4th, 5th gear. It absolutely flies down the straight there. Hill fighting back, trying to get an overlap on the inside. He's, as I said, he's fighting for 3rd place with Sutton, with Camish and Rowbottom. Only 13 points between them. I think he'll have the inside. Ingram can't turn in, and Rowbottom slides up the inside as well.
So Ingram gets shuffled out wide. Look at Rowbottom trying to clear both of them, and he's got past Ingram, so that's bad news for Tom in terms of points. Rowbottom on the attack now to try to get past Hill. The two of them fighting for 3rd place in the championship, but Rowbottom also doing the team thing of taking points away from Ingram, and that helps Sutton. So now, as Hill hangs on to the place, Ingram's got to do it all over again. Good opportunistic move that by Rowbottom, and it's worked out. And look behind, Adam Morgan is also charging. He is up into 8th place, having started 19th on the grid.
On the soft tyre again. Hyundai on the soft tyre, with boost, very quick indeed.
Race leaders go by then. It is still Osborne ahead of Cook, 0.6 of a second. The margin's crept up again. Sutton is third. Now Sutton is 1 second behind Josh Cook. Osborne may think about letting Ash go by. Josh Cook won't.
No, absolutely not. I mean, Osborne's maintaining that lead when he's using the boost. Fastest lap, though, for Sutton, and he's on the last lap again.
And a point for it, which is all going to help. So, as the championship would stand, 31 points now between Tom Ingram and Ash Sutton. We're currently working lap number 9 as the cars dive down again towards Brooklands. There's that train of Hill ahead of Rowbottom, ahead of Ingram. And Dan Camish edging his way forward as well, up into 11th place.
Yeah, remember they started, Camish and Rowbottom and Chilton all started at the back.
The leaders are coming now through Woodcote. This is on board though with Tom Ingram, and he is in 7th place. Not near enough to Rowbottom to make a move, but equally Tom knows that banking points is important.
Absolutely, and he knows also the third race can get a bit stressful and eventful, so he needs to just keep his powder dry when all around him might be losing theirs.
So there, coming out of Beckett's, is the race lead battle, where you've got Sam Osborne, for the moment at any rate, hanging on to that advantage, being chased very hard indeed by Josh Cook. The gap is down a little bit to the eye as they come into the braking zone. Ash Sutton, remember, in 3rd place. Somehow they would like to be able to switch him into the race lead, because you get an extra bonus point for that. But the stumbling block to any team strategy here is Josh Cook. He ain't going to play ball. He's in a different team. He's not in the championship hunt, and he would desperately like a race win.
Yeah. Rowbottom, though, ahead there, look, 18th to 6th so far. What a drive.
Mega stuff, isn't it, as he comes up towards the line. And of course he's not finished yet, because he's going to have a go at Jake Hill as they make that run down again towards Copse Corner. Jake on the medium tyre, Rowbottom on the soft. In terms of the soft runners, it's Osborne, Sutton and Rowbottom in order in the top 3. It's Dan Camish on Tom Chilton. Camish, another one, remember, on that soft tyre.
Yeah, absolutely. Just in terms of another one of Camish going past Doble. Another, just to give you who's got how much Toka turbo boost left. Osborne and Cook both have 8 laps each, whereas Sutton only has 3. Moffat has 6, Hill has 4, Rowbottom only has 3. So quite a difference between the front cars, but the front 2 with exactly the same, 8 laps each left.
So right now it is still Sam Osborne, who has never had a touring car race win, remember, up front. And although he's under pressure from Josh Cook, he is doing a good job of sort of withstanding that pressure, isn't he? He's hanging on to the advantage. He's not, as yet, making mistakes and running wide or bouncing over curbs. He's not incurring track limit warnings either, but Cook is getting ever more threatening behind him. And the move is imminent, I reckon, as they come up towards Beckett's. It's Cook, though, there that stands on the brakes and scrabbles into the corner.
Yeah, it's Cook that locks up in there quite often, though. And this has always been a good track for Sam Osborne. I mentioned it earlier, but last year he had 3 top 10 finishes, which is good. You know, he's just always clicked with this circuit, and he's so far resisting this pressure from a really highly experienced race-winning driver in the shape of Josh Cook with the Toyota Gazoo Racing Corolla with its new M Sport engine in it. So actually, he's doing a fantastic job. Sutton's dropped away a little bit in 3rd.
He has, you're right. Then it's Moffat, Hill and Rowbottom to round out the top 6. So, yeah, Ash Sutton on that soft tyre is starting to wilt a little bit. The last lap that he did was a 58.2 as against a 57.6 of the leader, Sam Osborne. And they're on the same type of tyre, so you would anticipate Sutton to be the quicker.
It's just boost. That boost, laps left, has gone down from 8 to 7, so they lose boost on the last lap, and that's why they're quicker. He can't compete against them with less laps of boost, because on boost, they're both quicker.
And Sutton, remember, has got, from the results earlier on in the day, a limited amount. He's down to 3 laps worth of it, so he's trying to preserve that to the very end. And he has still got 10 laps to go. So right now, he's going through the pain barrier.
Yeah, absolutely. But they're always going to have more than him left, unfortunately.
So Sam Osborne and Josh Cook, both 7 laps of boost available to them. Sutton third on 3. Moffat's got 6 laps of boost. 3 for Hill. Rowbottom only 1. So he's got to be really savvy now as to when he uses that, because if he uses it imminently, then he might be a sitting duck for anybody else that gets close. And he's under attack anyway, look, from Ingram. Now Ingram has got 4 laps of boost left and Rowbottom only 1.
Well, Rowbottom's used it all to advance from 18th on the grid, and that's the penalty. He's had the joy of it, but now he's got to toughen the penalty, because look how many cars are close behind him. He's in danger just because of Toka Turbo boost that he hasn't got available of hemorrhaging a lot of places.
A little bit of damage on the front of Rowbottom's Ford as well, as they drop down towards Brooklands once more, and Dan Camish look on the attack against Adam Morgan. Ingram to the outside of Robo as they drop into Brooklands. Couldn't go round the outside and couldn't stay alongside either to challenge up at Luffield, so he's got to think again. Round the long looping right of Luffield they come. Sam Osborne is about to come by and put 14 laps in the book. He's ticking them down, and the margin stretches again. He has used boost on that lap, 7/10 the margin, but now Cook has got 1 more lap available than does Osborne.
Yeah, but Rowbottom can be doing his teammate Sutton a big favour here by some aggressive defence, should we just call it that, against Ingram. Very wide there. That's a definite one of your track limit infringements, but he's going to have to drive a very defensive race over Ingram, and Ingram doesn't want to take too many chances against Rowbottom.
True enough, as the race leaders then work lap number 15. 8 to go. They're going through is Adam Morgan, who's had a really good run here up into 8th place. He's got Dan Camish behind him, who's also had a very good run up from last on the grid to 9th and has not done yet. Top 10 rounded out by Senna Proctor in another of those quick Team Virtue Hyundais. Mikey Doble dropping back, of course, 2nd on the grid. He's now in 12th, but Doble is still leading the independents.
Yeah, good drive.
So as the leaders come out of Luffield then, it's Osborne to Cook. The gap right down again between the race leaders. Just 0.2 of a second now as the cars dive through Cops Corner. Now Osborne's feeling the pressure. Now he's got Josh Cook right up behind him.
Yeah, the rear of the car moving about as Osborne sends it into Cops. They both lock up a little bit going into Beckett's.
This is going to be a chance for Cook to have a go, I think, on the inside. And he comes almost level with the Ford as they hit the Wellington straight. But Sam Osborne, using the boost, tries to stay ahead. Josh Cook's just done an absolute best within the first sector. He's about to send it up the inside line, coming into Brooklands. Goes from one side of the road to the other. This is going to be a real test of Sam Osborne. And so far, he's acquitting himself very well by defending. He's leading the race. He's never led for this long before. And Josh Cook, there behind him, has not, on that lap, been able to find a way by. So a good defensive lap by Osborne. In the meantime, Ash Sutton still third, dropping away as he doesn't touch the boost.
Well, I'm sure Sam Osborne's brother Jamie, who wasn't able to race here in the minis this weekend because of ill health, will be watching this on the edge of his seat, willing his brother to get this across the line. And Sam, you've got to do everything in your power to keep him behind. This is on board with Ingram, trying to get past Rowbottom. Remember, Rowbottom's almost out of boost. Ingram's got plenty, all right across the inside there, and then cutting back, and Rowbottom's gonna lose that position.
And Rowbottom is out of boost. He's used all of it now, so he's got nothing left by way of retaliation, and that's going to help Ingram, of course. So he's now gained a place back, and look, Rowbottom is a sitting duck for Adam Morgan, who's going to go round the outside, so with no extra boost, there's nothing really that Rowbottom can do, and he's also being given a penalty, Dan Rowbottom, of 10 seconds for track limit offences. So all of a sudden, everything's going wrong. He's run out of boost, he's losing places, and he's going to lose more with a 10-second penalty applied. That's
going to put him behind a teammate Dan Camish, who of course is his rival for third place, along with Hill.
Yeah, and they're both behind Hill as it stands anyway. Osborne to Cook as they went across the line, 0.8 of a second. That was another lap of boost used by Osborne.
Yeah, so Cook now has 1 lap more than Osborne. So on 1 lap at least, Osborne's really going to have to defend. You can see the effectiveness. Look at the gap he's pulled out by using that boost on a lap that Cookie wasn't.
And now Josh Cook using the boost to try to get back onto terms then. So down they come towards Brooklands. Still third is Ash Sutton, but Ingram up to 6th. So, OK, Ash will outscore. That's going to help. He'd like more cars between him and Ingram, of course. There's another penalty heading, and it's to Max Buxton. 10 seconds for track limits. Here is the race leader then. Sam Osborne comes up towards the line. We've had one first-time winner this season in Dan Lloyd winning race 1, although he's won in previous years, but Sam Osborne has never won at all. So could he be a race winner? well, he's going to have to make that car very wide. 4 laps to go, and so far it's been a brilliant drive.
It really has been a brilliant drive. I just holding my breath for him, because, as you know, I love to see a first-time winner in the BTCC. It just absolutely is why every driver steps in this car dreams of winning a race. We're not there yet, and I don't want to preempt it, because Cookie is such a savvy operator, such a great driver. But certainly this is his best chance for Sam Osborne to pull it off.
Now they're back on equal boost. They're back on 4 laps as it stands, 4 laps each. We'll see whether either of them have used it at the end of this next lap, as there you can see another big battle going on between Dan Rowbottom in the Napa Ford. Tom Chilton gets ahead of him. Rowbottom gives the back of the car a little tickle, and that unsettles Chilton going up towards Luffield, and Robo goes back through.
Well, that's what Rowbottom was talking about earlier, that he felt Ingram had done to him, wasn't it? Just giving him a little nudge and gone through on the inside. So he's obviously doing the same thing back.
We've got 3 laps to go. We've got Sam Osborne in the lead. He's never had a win. He could be our 12th different winner of the season. Right there behind him is Josh Cook. But Sam Osborne so far is doing everything that he should be doing. Daryl De Leon moves to one side to get out of the way after being in late, after getting his stop-go penalty. He's just after mileage here, so Sam Osborne goes through. And he's just done a personal best within the first sector that might suggest a little bit of boost use. And look, he's pulled away slightly from Josh Cook. But now we have got 3 laps to go, and they started this with 3 laps of boost, so they can run the boost to the end. Cook makes a mistake, and that may well be the get-out-of-jail-free card that Osborne needs.
That was what Osborne was looking in his mirror, as you do when you come out to Luffield to judge the gap. We'll be absolutely elated to hear, or to see, sorry, because he's seen that gap extend. He has boost available for each of the remaining laps, as does Cook, but that gap's extended.
So over the line, it was just over a second. 2 laps to go. Now Sam Osborne comes up towards Beckett's. He's a lap and a half away from a first ever British Touring Car Championship win. It would be an amazing result for Sam, who's become a great character season after season after season. He's got better and better and better. And finally, it looks as though he's going to get his first proper podium. His one inherited podium was after somebody was excluded, and he may well be doing it on the top step. Down they come into Brooklands then. Yeah. So Osborne will come to Luffield and then start the last lap.
And of course, it's Pete Osborne, his father, who took over this team that was formerly Motorbase and brought on board Napa. So for the family, it will be absolutely huge. I should imagine Pete Osborne has got everything crossed in the pit lane.
That's Jake Hill in replay, getting ahead of Aidan Moffat after a mistake, and Tom Ingram closing to try to get through as well. We're on the last lap, and the gap is 1.3 seconds. Josh Cook all of a sudden seems to have a car that's a little bit evil handling. He didn't look all that compliant going into Cops, and he's not being able to fight back. They are on equal boost. Right, Ollie Collins, team manager, looks nervous. Everybody in the garage looks nervous. Dan can't focus at all. He's gone. Pete Osborne's had to walk away and have a lie down. A time penalty to Gordon Shedden, a time penalty to Senna Proctor for track limits. Sam Osborne, couple of corners to go.
Fantastic, and I mean, Cookie's struggling to get to the end. He's locked up at Beckett's virtually every lap, but this man is going to win his first ever BTCC race. Everybody in the paddock will be delighted for him. He's a lovely young man, he is, and he's driven under the greatest of pressure.
Sam Osborne comes out of Luffield. He's never been on the podium. He's going to be on the top step because it's his first ever British Touring Car Championship win. Sam Osborne makes history, a first ever win in the championship for him. Sam Osborne wins race 3 at Silverstone, and he does so by 1.6 seconds from Josh Cook. Ash Sutton takes 3rd, 4th goes to Jake Hill. Tom Ingram is going to be through for 5th ahead of Aidan Moffat, and then 7th is Adam Morgan ahead of Chilton. Camish will get 9th and Doble 10th with penalties being applied. Ash Sutton outscores Tom Ingram only by a couple of places, but every little helps. But Sam Osborne wins the race, and what a drive. He is over the moon in a Sam Osborne sort of way, because he's not the most demonstrative of characters, but he did not put a wheel out of line. That's just brilliant.
Absolutely fantastic. That was his dad, Pete, celebrating Steve Richardson from Napa as well. It's a feel-good. And Ash Sutton comes up to congratulate him. There's such a close-knit team, all of them together. They'll all be absolutely delighted for him.
I'm trying to remember whether Sam was a race winner in his earlier days of racing, but it's been a tough period in touring car racing, and of course in one of the plum drives, judged against some of the best in the business, and Sam has just quietly got on with the job and learnt and got faster, and it's all come together. A first ever win in the championship for Sam Osborne rounds out round 27 from Josh Cook and Ash Sutton in third place. So the drivers then making their way up through Luffield to the pit lane. Round 27 of the championship falls to Sam Osborne with Josh Cook second and Ash Sutton in third. Jake Hill fourth ahead of the championship leader Tom Ingram. Sixth, Aidan Moffat, then Adam Morgan in seventh ahead of Tom Chilton. Dan Camish, ninth, good drive from him, and Mikey Doble in 10th place. Aaron Taylor-Smith taking 11th ahead of Charles Rainford. Senna Brock to 13th. Dan Rowbottom and Dexter Patterson round out the point scorers ahead of Gordon Shedden. The recovering Dan Lloyd ahead of his teammate Chris Smiley. Max Buxton 19th and 3 laps down after his pit stops and penalties. Darrell de Leon. We also lost Nick Halstead early on in the race. So then it's been a day more about Tom Ingram than Ash Sutton, perhaps, in terms of the race results. But for the championship, we go to Brands Hatch with 33 points between them. It's going to be tough for Ash, but it's not an insurmountable deficit. Dan Camish is third ahead of Jake Hill. Dan Rowbottom fifth ahead of Tom Chilton. Adam Morgan is seventh ahead of Charles Rainford, with Aidan Moffat and Gordon Shedden rounding out that top 10 in the championship. Well, we've been talking about the independents over the course of the day. Dan Lloyd now has a 10-point advantage there over Mikey Doble, with Chris Smiley in third, Dexter Patterson fourth, Josh Cook fifth after his early season efforts for One Motorsport. Of course, now in the Toyota Gazoo ranks, no longer taking independent points.